Hey everyone, and welcome to the final design team project for February. So I thought I would start with using these wood veneer pieces and some embossing powder and see what I could create. I then had the idea when I was getting out my stamp pad for the embossing ink to use a stencil. So I thought I would pull out this stencil and I would use it with the embossing powder. Now I'm going to put that flourish wood veneer under there, underneath my photo. So I'm just lightly putting some pencil marks there so I could see where the stencil needed to go. So I'm just smushing this down. Really, you should be a lot more careful than I did because I was alright on that one, but down here I end up smushing it over the edge where the stencil wasn't. So I need to place a bit of paper there and cover up my layout so I didn't get it in a straight line. You watch this. So I tip on the embossing powder as you know you do when you do embossing, and I'm going to tip it off all the excess, and then I notice a big strip. So what I do is I just cheat the system a little. I brush it off with a paintbrush. It gets most of it off. It's not a big issue. And I will, any of the little residue, I do use a baby wipe and just smush it off as well. So when I'm embossing, I like to have a folded piece of paper underneath. That way all the excess goes onto there, and then I can just slightly fold it and tip it back into the embossing bolt into there. So that it's back in the package, ready to be used next time. Otherwise, if you just threw out that every time, you would have no embossing powder very soon, very quickly. So I'm just going to dry it up or heat it up and let it all melt. You can see there I've got two little ink splatters. It's like I've splattered the embossing powder on there, and it's splattered everywhere. Apparently I'm going to say splattering 10 times in a sentence. So that's just a nice little pop of pink in the background. And here's where I decide I'll just go with pink as the main color, and I do add in a little bit of gold so that it's a pink and a gold layout in the end. And I just wanted to keep it, I want to say simple, but it's not really simple. I just wanted to keep a lot of blank space, so a lot of white space on the layout. So I wanted to keep the cluster in one little part of the layout where the photo and all the goodness is, and then I wanted to have just a little pop of something to the top, and that was it. I had this little pop of heat and the embossing in the background without overwhelming. So you can see it's so simple to emboss. I remember when I first learned about embossing a few years ago, I was like, oh, that's so tricky, so time consuming. Why would you do it? But it is so simple and it is so pretty. So just with those few techniques of having the right embossing ink and then using the folded paper underneath, it just works so much better. I think it's so much easier than I ever thought. So I pulled out that XO as well, and I do have that bird cage, but I end up not using the bird cage. So I'm just going to put this on here, and I waste a bit of embossing powder because, of course, the ink got on the paper underneath the wood veneer, but that's okay. There is so much embossing powder in these bottles. We're going to be laughing forever and ever and ever. So I'm just going to melt that a bit, and I do just, while it's hot there, dunk it back in the embossing powder, which is really not effective because it dries straight away, but I didn't realize that at the time. You know how when you learn it, you look at a technique and you're like, oh, I really like the way that works. It looks so, it looks fairly easy the way the people are doing it. I'm going to buy it. So I brought all these supplies, done it a couple of times, didn't really like the effort, and I forgot about it, and blah blah blah, as we all do as scrapbookers. And then I remembered I had it, but also then we got these lovely embossing powders in the kit. So that makes me think, okay, I'm going to use it. And then using it means that I've learned all those techniques over time of, watching a million YouTube videos and seeing layouts on Facebook and Instagram. And that way you get a bit better at it each time. So I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't realize it dries pretty much straight away. Anyway, on this XO, I do have, look at this, I forgot my paper underneath. I do have the embossing pens that I hadn't used until right now, and I then just put a line through the X and O just like so that it was written with a pink background, and that way it stands out on top of that little pink splatter down the bottom there, and that's going to be my title. So here's where we're going to get a bit fun with all the layers and the clusters. So I'm going to cut off this branding strip because it's pink. We could always use branding strips for layering. We don't need to have big pieces at all. So I'm going to just rip this one, add a bit of texture with ripping. So you can see I'm not even really measuring, I'm just having a look. That'll do for now, and it'll all come together once you're putting things, bits and pieces together. I didn't want to use that watermelon just because it had a bit of green on there and it was a bit more white than I wanted. So I'm just going to chop a bit of pink, and I'm just going to have a play with the layers now. So I'm going to put that pink there. I do like the way it just sits, so I just am making sure it's where I want it to be, and I didn't end up wanting all those ripped edges, so I didn't want too much of that wooden flourish to be covered up. So I aimed to have my layers to the right of the photo more than to the left, so that you could see that flourish popping out and have that hint of gold from that wood veneer that I have embossed. So I'm going to add the branding strip, and this is where I decide I want up the top here. So this is where the XO is going to go as my title. And so you can see branding strips are just so easy, and then that was just a piece of the same color paper as I'd used, and I just ripped an edge, made it look like a branding strip / washi strip, and we're just going to have a bit of play. And I was thinking, oh no, I've only got a couple of colors of pink to layer, it's not going to work. But then when I went and got out, looked in the embellishment tray, so the top of my really useful box, I realized there was a pink doily, there's the Project Life card. So not only are there the same, a few different prints, but there is the printables that have got some pink on it. I found the vellum that I'd used for a layout, so just pop that in for a bit of extra texture and a pop of difference. It's like adding white, I guess, without being so stark. I did have a look and wonder if I wanted to put some flowers in the background, but I thought that would change the direction totally and decided not to. Found a pink sticker. So basically, just if you're going with the colour theme, just pull out anything and everything that goes with that colour theme and you can fit in. So this is a feather sticker, and I wondered whether I could put it there as an embellishment. Instead, I chop it in half and put it on either side of my photo as a layering piece. Just simple, just a pop of bit of difference, but also the pink and a bit of something to look at when if your eyes look really closely at the layout. There was that okay with the hand sticker, but that was just too much. So here's where I'm going to pull out the blank Project Life cards, and also this pink one here that is a 4x6 with a little flower down the bottom, but instead I pull it in half and use up the pink side so I can have that different tone of pink. The other thing is, if you're pulling from your stash and you are wanting to do just one shade, one color, it's good to have different shades and tones so that you can have that as the difference in terms of all your layering and whatnot's going on. So I wanted to add in a bit of the gold, so I pulled out one of the gold, actually two of the gold label stickers, and I just cut them in half so that I could layer them up as as layers in between the photo and all those papers. So I'm just going to start putting it together. Now I pulled out, as you can see, all the pink embellishments that either we had or that I wanted, that went with it. So you can see there I've got them all at the bottom of the photo layers there, and I'm just going to put it all together. I'm going to add in some more of these labels. I'm going to add in this frame, and that just means that you have that little things of difference in when I'm layering like this. It's nice to have all those different textures, all those different patterns, all those different tones, all those different looks when you're looking at it. So pretty much just putting a piece of double-sided tape on, and then I'm going to just put each layer on as we go. There's nothing really like so precise about it. I really just have a look at where I think it's going to look nice and just go with it. I don't overthink it. I have practiced a lot, I guess, and that's the thing. I do remember when I first started layering, it would come a little bit natural, but also I would, agonize over a bit of the decisions. So I'm going to put it all together and put all those little finishing touches on. So on goes the gold flourish, and then we're going to add the photo just with a bit of, it's fun foam. Not fun foam, double-sided foam tape. I was going to say, wondered why I didn't pop it up, because the flourish would be on a bit of height. But I did it, don't worry. So just putting some staples through that heart just for a pop of texture and also interest while you're looking at it. I do pop this arrow here, and then I just pull it off in a second. Sorry, I'm just yawning. In a second, because I'm thinking, why on earth did I put that there? On goes some butterflies, and of course when I'm putting butterflies down, I just fold it a little and put the glue in the middle where the body of the butterfly is, so that it looks like the wings are coming off the page. And I add some of these hearts. I did find this little phrase, and we're just putting on those little touches that make it, pop off the page more, but also give it that bit of interest rather than it just being photo layers. On goes some labels. So if you're not using the labels to write and you just want them as layering pieces, I do like to pull them apart, rip them, cut them, and then stick them in. That way I can use the other half for another layout or a project life spread. So really, I'm just looking at anything that's pink and seeing if it will fit or not. There's no other real way to explain it, really. It's just that's going to be the way it comes together. So another phrase sticker. So who has enjoyed the February kits? Are we enjoying those embossing powders, the Dear Lizzie New Day goodies, and the Chamel goodies that we got in the collection, and any other bits and pieces? I just like all the different things we got, some stickers and some puffy stickers, some wood veneer, like papers and printables and exclusive cut files and all kinds of goodness we got this month, as we often always do, but it just amazes me how well it all goes together. So finishing that cluster up the top there. And then I just going to make sure that I've got little pops of interest to make your eye rest and have a gander and be excited by, rather than just some things that are plonked there haphazardly by themselves. I like to have layer upon layer upon layer in embellishment clusters, and obviously behind my photo as well. But I also like to have things that go around the page, so that you're not all just in one section. Even though I said at the beginning I was just focusing on this part of the page and I wanted a lot of white space, I quickly realized it needed something on the left top there to make sure that it all looked really nice together. So I'm just having a little play, just finding those last little bits and pieces, because we get so much in the kit with the embellishments. It's nice to make sure you go through it all. So I've pulled out my puffy stickers here. I'm just adding some of those little hearts. Just popping it in. I think the good part about, for me, scrapbooking's about all those different elements going on in the page. So now I'm just going to finish it off with using my gold pit pen, and on the page I'm doing a dotted line dash border, as if that wasn't obvious. Captain Obvious over here. Anyway, that was great. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so this is just going to end it off. We're not going to do too much to the page. What is going on with my lighting? Sorry. You guys might not have even noticed, and I'm just like horrified by it right then. It's just like it went off and on. That's weird. Isn't it so funny that it's so tricky to get lighting right and all those bits and pieces. Like sometimes you get it right and then you leave your setup exactly the same and you come back and the next day it's exactly the same conditions but it's totally different. So weird. Anyway, I just pulled out these little tiny little enamel dot hearts and I've put some of them in a few different tones of pink around the clusters. And really this photo is just like nothing. It's just a random selfie standing out the front on the way to work, and I knew I needed a little bit of journaling, so in fact I found a perfect spot for it using my gold Uniball pen to put up the side of this little paper layer here. I think I put something like just because, a selfie just because, why else would you take a selfie if it wasn't just because? And that's going to finish it off, I believe. I think I've said that a couple of times now. Oh, that's right. So I just wanted a little bit of gold. So I've gone over these words on this phrase here at the top with the gold Uniball pen. And then I do colour in one of the hearts and make it gold as well. And so, you don't always have to use things the way they are intended. You could rip them and use them as layering pieces. You can colour them in like this. You can, even with thickers, you can make them different colours. You could use the thickers to make different letters if you run out of certain letters. Anything like that. Use the packaging for other purposes rather than just throwing it out. So definitely make sure you are thinking outside the box. And here are the close-ups, all lovely and pink and gold. And we're going to end the video now, and I will talk to you next week. Catch you next time. Bye.